do that. All
No,
right.
now you got to do it. You don't have your guitar. You got to do it.
No,
That reminds me of
no,
an
that's not the
80s
song.
sitcom.
That's not the song.
What's the
Stop it now.
sitcom I'm thinking about? What is that? Is it Night? No, Night Court is. I can't remember one I'm thinking
Was it a
about.
cop show?
Maybe, I don't know. Was it Barney Miller? Maybe Barney Miller. I don't know. Hey guys, it's Monday. Happy New Year. Happy New
Happy
Year,
New Year,
Steven.
brother.
Man,
First,
it is
first show of the year, right?
first show of the year on the second. Man, we're crushing it. And you're not even in Texas.
No, I'm in Michigan right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's even better. Is it cold up there?
It's freezing, literally and
Literally.
figuratively. Yes, yeah.
I figured it
My
was.
I saw my 4 and 6 year old go skiing yesterday for the first time ever. It was really
Yeah,
fun. The 4 year old was more interested in playing in the snow, than skiing, which is fine too, But
yeah.
it was fun, man. We've had a good trip.
That's awesome, dude. So y'all are up there just for a little while longer, and then coming back to
Yeah, we're back.
reality.
Yeah, back in a couple days. I'm back to the real world.
Not
So
too
how's
bad.
everything going? How was your Christmas? How was your New Year's?
Man, it was awesome. A lot of downtime, a lot of reflection time, and just got back from a lot of planning time. So that was just kind of all encompassing for the last 3 weeks.
Nice, nice.
Y'all,
Well, good. How'd the planning time go? For those of you that don't know, Chris does this with his wife once a year, and they go and they go on like a couples retreat kind of thing where they just go and they plan. I don't even know if it's a couples retreat. You just go to a hotel, right?
well, it is kind of a couples retreat, but the movie gives that a negative connotation because there's not like a bunch of couples together. It's just us as a couple. Yeah,
Encouragement.
that's
Use it. Yeah.
that's right. No, man, it was good. We are kind of right in the middle of potentially planning something big. We get a lot of positive feedback, and people want to talk about it and they want to ask questions. So we're putting together a planner and kind of some education behind it. And we're going to
Smart.
be those people. Because
Smart.
why not? Because nobody else is doing what we're doing. At
Yeah,
least
no, that's
not that I
really
know of.
smart.
Um,
That you don't get married because you want it to fail. Nobody gets married with that in mind, and so and marriage is tough, right? There's no such thing as a marriage that's just carefree all the time. I've been married for 14 years. It'll be 15 years in
15 amazing,
uh,
beautiful years, I think is
yeah,
what you meant to say.
truly. Well, yeah, for the most part, it's been fantastic, but it takes work, right?
It does, yeah.
And so what's so cool about what you do is that you don't ignore the fact that it takes work. A lot of couples just assume that things will work out. You guys on purpose go and do it and make sure it
Yeah,
works out, and that's the attractiveness of what you do. Now stop talking and tell me what you're drinking.
that's a good point. My friend, it is whiskey day. So I'm
Not for me.
drinking a nice Kentucky bourbon.
I have one open and not open, so I'm going to take the one that's not open here. And let's see. I'm looking at an American lager, Locals Light. Let's see here. Shorts Brewing, and it's Elk Rapids, Michigan. I'm not showing it at all, am I? Sorry about that. Okay.
So you know what? And I was gonna make some little comment about you having to go all the way to Michigan to find local beer, but you know what? That is your local beer, so that's cool.
Eh, yeah. The truth is, I ran out of Becks and my Heinekens and all that. Actually, Labatt Blue up here. I ran out of those, and I was down to the non-alcoholic beer my mother-in-law had stored. So my wife got those for me on the way home. So that was
Ah,
nice. That was
you're
nice.
right, and this is why you've been married for 15 plus years.
Definitely a plus. Yes, that didn't hurt.
All right, my friend. Well, cheers. Happy New Year to you.
Cheers. Happy New Year. So real estate sometimes is quite busy right around Christmas, believe it or not, for most people. Let me ask you, how are things?
Um, well, and I think I may have mentioned this in October, November. I was expecting December to see at least a slight uptick because it does. That period between Thanksgiving and Christmas is usually a little busier than other times. You got investors trying to spend money. You also have people that have to move. Job
Sure.
changes and trying to get between school semesters and stuff like that. So I did see an uptick. It was not quite what I expected, but I can't um, put that in numbers. I expected it to be a little bit busier than it was, but it was busier. Like my listings got more showings, offers, stuff like that. Things were definitely happening between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Good.
Um, I actually when I told you I was right in the middle of some research, so I pulled market data for Austin and Dripping Springs, um, and it's interesting because this is comparing it to a month ago. Um, Currently active, Austin's down about 650 listings. Okay.
Out of what?
Um,
How many? How many total?
that's total listings. So it was 2865, and right now it's 2215.
What
So
was it last year?
I didn't pull last year. I can't pull the data like that. The MLS doesn't work real well. We gotta sift through the data from Board of Realtors. It's not
Sure. Okay.
easily accessible, and so this is just comparing it to a month ago. Move-in ready homes that are ready to go, not builder inventory that's half finished. Down about 485. No. Sorry, down more than that. Down over 500. So 2359 to 1730. So again, down month, from last month. Closed or pendings and under contracts are about half. It was 1134. It's 586.
From what
Okay,
they were
so.
last month.
Mhm. So a lot of stuff closed between Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's what that's telling me. Last 30 days closed was 500. Previous 30 days at the end of November was actually 590. So the number of closings in the last 30 days is down. Um, Average and median sales prices are roughly the same. Days on market is up a little bit, 56 versus 45. So we're still, solidly in 2-month territory. And
Sure.
withdrawns and expireds are about the same, about 500 withdrawns roughly, and expired. So that's about the same from November. So just interesting, and
Yeah.
it makes sense that actives are down, and that move-in readies are going to be down. The under contract down kind of shocked me a little bit. That
Right. You
that
know,
would say that November was better than December, which I didn't see.
that's typically not the case.
Mm-mm.
I think historically that's almost never the case. I could be wrong on that, but I do believe that's typically not the case.
Right.
At least it has been for me.
And and
I've
and so
noticed the
that's
same thing.
Okay. I was going to say, so that's weird. Anecdotally, I've seen, a better market in December, but the numbers aren't necessarily bearing that out.
You
Well,
know,
and let me throw a
it's
huge caveat on that. I'm sorry. I got to throw a huge caveat. That is, that is Austin. That is not the entire MSA. That's not the entire MLS. Okay. So that could change things. And, but I pulled dripping data and it's marginally down as well. Not as significant, but marginally. So anyway, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
well, forecasts. I've been told is that they would get worse and worse and worse until February. Um,
Right.
I don't know why February is some magic month.
You know, it, historically, in my 12 years of real estate, um, usually if somebody wants to put their house on the market, we tell them to wait until after Valentine's Day. And so, from a listing perspective, that's kind of when the new year starts to trickle on the market. And then it picks it up a little bit more in March. And then by the time April rolls around, in the end of April, it's full bore. So, I don't know if that has something to do with it, but just in my experience,
I expect rates to be far worse by then.
you think
Um,
they're going to continue to go down
yeah, I
or
do.
up? Yeah.
Up. Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, I'm sure.
you know,
Yes. But anyway,
they got better until about the middle of December, and then here we go, getting worse and worse and worse. And if you have you seen those graphs of 2008's stock market to today's stock market when they
yes.
superimpose the two together, and they're just doing this like
Yeah,
in
it's almost
tandem with one
identical.
another. It's scary identical, and we are right before the big crash that happened after December. And I don't know.
So
The charts are telling us things.
what happened to mortgage backed securities and all of that stuff back then? Like what if that chart is tracking, what would that say that I'm assuming that's where you're going with this.
No, actually, it wasn't where I was going with it. And that's a rabbit hole that I could go down. But I'm not sure you'd want to take 2 hours to go down it. But long story
Yeah.
short is the system collapsed and had to be renewed. And the banks were given money that they didn't have. So, if you were working at AT&T, for instance, and now it's Friday and I want my paycheck, AT&T would send the money, but they'd get an error in return that would say there is no dollars to send. That, in a nutshell, when they say the system was going to collapse, people don't quite understand what that means. That's what that means. That means, hey, it's Friday. Yeah, we're trying to pay you. Chase isn't sending it, or Bank of America. They're just not. We're on hold with them. Everyone will do a mass email, and this would happen throughout multiple companies. And if they hadn't borrowed the money and infused it into banks, no one would have been paid. And that would have been the beginning of the end. When
Yeah,
they say,
that's a giant.
well, yeah, but when
Yeah.
the economists are talking about that, people laugh at it and they're like, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about. But they haven't heard that explanation,
So
right?
why would the banks not have any money? Like,
It's because they're not allowed to keep the money. So we work in a
I
system
get
called
that.
fractional banking, right? So,
Yeah.
so the bank is only supposed to keep 1/10 of
1/10.
what you give
Correct.
them. So if you give them $100, they are supposed to keep $10. The reality is, when audited, most are somewhere between $7 and $11,
Okay.
right? And by law, they actually have to start giving out some of that money. It's a system where they are not rewarded for saving the money. And furthermore, if they did save the money, they wouldn't make any money because they wouldn't charge
Right.
interest to anyone. And so they have to actually lend
And
your
aren't they
money out when you
allowed?
give it to
They're
them.
allowed to lend 10x on what they receive, correct?
Well,
I know they're only allowed to keep 1/10, but I thought like if you gave them 100, then they're allowed to lend 1,000 at that point.
you know what? I don't know exactly what they're allowed to do. I do know that yeah, that happens all the time, right? Margin calls was one of the big
Mhm.
things in 2008, with people that had given $1,000, and then the bank would say, well, we know you gave us 1,000, but how about trading with 10,000? And as long as you're making money, we'll just let you
Nobody
keep
cares.
trading. But
Yeah.
if you lose money, then we'll ask you to pay us our money back. Okay, what? That's real. I just logged into an account for a Webull. It's an app, Webull. I only did
Oh,
it because a friend sent me a link that was like, get free money, and I got like $30 free in stocks. So great. Hey, you know what? Maybe that'll turn into the next Berkshire Hathaway or something, right?
that's
Who
right.
knows? It was free and it only took a few minutes. But when I logged in, I was met with a message, which was, would you like to increase your spending limit through marginal trading? And it was just one of the sign up options.
Oof.
That's
And
simple.
but think about this for an uneducated person jumping onto Webull. Oh, absolutely. Why
Oh,
would
because
I
it's a
not?
sure thing. You're not going to lose money. Just like marriage earlier, right? Why get into it if you think you're going to lose money? Well, I'd like to deposit some money, and gosh darn it, well, can it just be gone tomorrow?
That's right.
Nobody says that, right? So yeah, it's a rough system.
Interesting.
And the worst part is that the more I learn about it, the less the events have to do with what happens in the market. Yeah, there are some events where, oh my gosh, it hit this new trial, and in the trial they found out that it actually cures cancer. Oh Jesus! All right, the news comes out, and then yeah, the stock part, fine. That
Right.
kind of stuff happens. But for the most part, um, like the charts really do predict generally what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's not always correct, but man, they're pretty often correct.
Yep.
Um, anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
And no, I was just going to throw you a curveball because you and I have, but well, you have talked. I have listened about the again historically because that's the only thing that we have. Um, Historically, interest rates tracking inflation, and I sent you an interesting little tidbit this morning from Texas A&M
That
real
was
estate
interesting.
research,
Yeah.
and so obviously a lot of this stuff is kind of hinging on China and Ukraine, which we've known. Um, but if interest rates are tracking inflation? Okay, come on, Nostradamus.
What are you asking me? What's going to happen?
Yeah, because you were just saying that you think interest rates are going to go way higher by February, and so are you saying that inflation is going to continue to skyrocket?
there's no way for it to truly slow down right now. And if you look at the losses of inflation, if the decrease of inflation recently, it's been because of oil mainly. And so if you took oil out of the equation, there would almost be no change, or it might actually be positive in inflation.
Right.
So, okay, why is oil going down, Chris? Why is the price of oil going down in the United States?
Because there's an oversupply. Even though there's not, there's an oversupply.
Why is there an oversupply, Chris?
Um,
It's
I
because
don't know.
we are still to date draining oil from our strategic petroleum reserves.
Well, that's why I said that we've got an oversupply, but we
Yeah.
don't, because we've been draining it. I didn't know
Yeah,
that
you
was
knew
the
what
way
you
to
knew what
go.
it was. I was
Yeah.
sending you a curveball. The bottom line is if you're telling me that inflation has decreased and we're going to celebrate about it, it better not be for an artificial reason, right? That's like
Holy shit, dude.
that's like
What
saying,
the
you've got someone screaming and you stand on their throat and you say, "I solved the problem," but as soon as you walk away, the person starts screaming again, right? Probably a bad, violent example, but still, it's
That's pretty
it's
bad.
not, it's still apt, okay, and accurate because that's how it is. So
Now
as
wait a
soon
minute,
as we,
time out.
yeah, go ahead.
What you're telling me right now is that I'm not saying you're saying this is happening, but this is kind of what you're saying, that inflation is being moderated because we're draining the strategic oil reserves, because that's one of the largest parts of the 9 things that they look at to measure inflation right now.
Right. Yeah, it's
Wait, we're being told that we're draining the reserves in order to, help out the world.
well, in order to lower our prices so that people can afford gas. It's not being hidden. It's being done in plain sight, in plain view. But then if you look at the numbers for inflation, the reason for the decrease was mainly oil. So, eventually we either run out of the reserves,
We will
or
eventually.
hey, or maybe the situation resolves on its own. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, or pessimist or whatever. But at the end of the day, right now, we're all being told that the inflation rates are better. At the same time, they're putting their foot on somebody's throat, right? So stopping it from screaming, right? So it just doesn't make sense. Um, so no, I don't think inflation is getting better. I think it's getting much worse, and it's being covered up as best they can. Covered up, patched, whatever you want to call it. I don't, you know what I mean? Again, I don't feel like starting arguments over it, but
No, 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 no.
factually, I don't think we're in an accurate. We don't have accurate readings
Well,
on inflation.
and you and I were talking about the same thing. I don't know if it was a couple of weeks ago or before Christmas or whatever, with jobs numbers. And that was one of the things that was spelled out specifically in that A&M research article was, oh,
Yeah,
jobs numbers are going to come way back. Well, yeah, of course they are.
but which ones? So specifically with this, people say jobs numbers, and damn it, there's a
They're
lot of people that work. Are we talking about garbage men? Are we talking about, the people at Taco Bell where you can't even eat inside anymore in a lot of locations because there's not enough staff, right?
right.
Are we talking about, lawyers? Are we talking about, mortgage loan officers, right?
Yeah.
There were too many of them. There were too many realtors. There were too many of certain groups, right? And then at the same time, I've been reading articles for years that starting in 2022 and 2023-ish, and basically 2020-ish, right? Computers are going to start phasing people out in droves. And I
Dude,
have been seeing this happen, especially with the introduction of COVID, right? What's
the
up?
man, it's so funny you say that. Have you seen the stuff that you can do with AI web-based AI apps? Oh my
No,
God.
some of it, yes. We are truly close. It's just scary to think about. Let's say, let's say you get arrested tomorrow, right? And you can't afford a lawyer. Okay, just stick with me on this one.
Mhm.
So I'm in jail. I can't afford a lawyer, right? And hold on a second. And now law is really mainly about knowing the legal system, knowing past cases. I'm not a lawyer, but I grew up with a father as a lawyer, and my father-in-law is a lawyer, so I think I know enough to state that Law is really about doing your research, doing your due diligence, and then coming up with a solid argument for or against your client, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever. And okay, well, if you get one of these court appointed lawyers, they have something along the lines of like 30 to 60 cases every 2 weeks. There's not enough time to
For them
focus
to
on just
research.
you. So now you get the option. Would you like a human being, or would you like an artificial intelligence computer that would be able to look over every single case ever in the history of cases
In 5
like
minutes.
that, yeah, in a snap, maybe 5 minutes actually. Yeah, you're probably right. But still, and in a few years it will be a snap, right? And
Yeah.
and would you like that, or would you like the human that's terribly, terribly overburdened? It's up to you.
I'm telling you, man. I think what is it called? AI GPT, I think is what it is, or no, Chat GPT. It's,
Oh man,
I'm
yeah.
telling you right now. I put out a ton of video content. I'm starting to use that AI bot to come up with titling and SEO optimization, and partially my scripts. Why not? Because it takes me 2 seconds to go, what is blah, 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 or write a script for this video.
Okay, see, this is what I want. I want an AI friend that I can talk to, like you and me right now. But that I can be like, what do you need? Do you need a computer setup? Great. What I would like for you to do is take $10 here, sign up for whatever websites you need to, learn what you need to, but do a craft online and start a job. And be a
It's
member of the family. We'll help each other out. You know what I mean? But like I,
it's
I would
not
love.
gonna take long, dude.
I don't know, right? But like it would be really, really fun to be like, how do we? I want to start I honestly, I'd love to start one of those Amazon. Like passive income kind of things where you're like I'd like to write a book on doing mortgages or doing cold call sales for mortgages, like
Yeah.
specifically, right? Because I'm great with that. And maybe sell it with passive income. I wouldn't know the first thing about it. I've even done a little research, and now I know I probably don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like I'm now not dumb enough to start. I know enough to now discourage me, and it's I man, just unleash an AI. I feel like they could figure out charts like I have, and then trade all day and do all that kind of stuff. Anyways.
And then, man, but just fast forward 5 years, knowing what AI is now, knowing that technology, the rate of doubling of technology continues to accelerate in
Well, it
five
doesn't.
years.
I know
Well,
what you mean, and we are accelerating, but it doesn't accelerate like double. But no, you're right.
well, no, I'm just saying the rate of doubling is continuing to increase. So
You know what's
the rate at
funny?
which it can double.
So Moore's law is what you're talking about,
Yes.
and it basically states that every 2 years, and it's not quite 2 years, it's like 18 months, something like that, but
Yeah.
every 2 years that the technology doubles in speed. And about 10 years ago, that no longer became the case. And I remember talking
Really?
to a guy, yeah, and I remember talking to a guy that made CPUs in Austin, way smarter than me. And I said, I'm kind of a nerd. I've been building gaming PCs. Like, talk to me, brother. What's going on? And you really want to know why they're not doubling in speed anymore? And I said, yeah. And he goes, he started thinking about it. And he goes, basically because electricity can't go any faster, right? Like we've gotten to the point now where we just can't, right? Isn't that funny? And then fast forward to today, and we have quantum computing, which
Yep.
is 10,000 times, et cetera, faster, right? And if you looked at a graph of doubling over and over every year, we may have slowed down, but I think we just jumped back up. You know what I mean? So maybe it is true. We just needed a little more data. You know what I mean, to get us there. But I don't know. As of right now, one of the big arguments out there, and again, it probably ties into that nerd I was talking to, and this is a nerd too, right? But your cell phones, like every year the new cell phone comes out, right? And if you look at the improvements, they're like, hey, it's 10% faster now in gaming. You're like, 10%, really? And then the last year's model was 20%. So what we've done is we've done a 30% increase in 2 years, right? That kind of thing. And cell phone companies are like, crap, all the apps still worked and they haven't really updated that much. And you really don't need a new cell phone anymore.
That's right.
And so,
So
there's
what are they
really no
what are they
reason.
doing? You know what they're doing.
Well, yeah,
Have
they do a little
you
software gimmick or something. Yeah, like
Well,
like
no, no,
erase
no,
your
no,
photo or whatnot.
Have you probably don't watch commercials, but have you seen any cell phone commercials over the last year?
Yeah.
One is they deal with, oh, now we can flip open. We got a flip screen. You can have your razor again, which I miss my razor.
Okay, now listen. I don't want the razor, but I have a tablet and I have a phone, and I'm dying for the day when I can triple unfold my phone without any creases.
To be
They
a
haven't got the
tablet.
creases; they look bad, but that
I
would be
saw the
nice.
creases the other day, and they're noticeable.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
oh yeah, I saw them
horrible, but
too.
they're noticeable. But anyway, the other thing, so that one, you can fold it out or whatever. And then the other one, everybody is trying to talk about their cameras. It's all about the camera. You can take better photos. You can take better photos because they can't get the computing any faster. You're right.
Right? Yeah.
Man, we have
I'll tell
gone
you,
way
man.
down a crazy side.
We have actually. Let's get back to real estate. So rates right now have been getting worse. The Fed. A lot of people thought the Fed was going to pivot. The Fed is not going to pivot. They are
No,
not going to pivot until the yield on the 2-year interest rate crosses where the Fed interest rate is
I think
on a
you
graph.
mentioned that in November. Yeah.
Yes, it has not happened. They're not going to pivot anytime soon. So the
In their
the
mind, they're
market was.
winning.
Say again.
In their mind, they're winning right now.
I'll tell you, they're really messing up. But
I just
they're
said in
not
their
really
mind.
messing up. Here's the thing. What they're doing in terms of messing up is they're doing this way too fast. What they're not doing in terms of messing up is they are holding steady.
Yeah.
Remember, I told you a long time ago, I said this is two ways this can play out. They can either buckle or they can hold steady. And the dollar really depended on it.
Yeah.
A lot of things are changing today that I didn't see coming back then, specifically with the BRICS nations. My God, that one's scary, but we can get to that later. I'm sure we've talked about it a little bit, but rates are going up. If you have if you go online right now, you'll see that rates are somewhere around 6.5%, or let's just say the mid sixes. The reality is I'm not seeing that. If you go to Google and you type in average mortgage rate, and then give it a 620 credit score, it's at 8.4 as of like an hour ago. So okay, fine. Thanks, average rate sites, right? Also, that same Google says that you'd be around 7.5 if you've got a 720, I think it was. So I would say the range right now for people shopping is somewhere between 6 and 9 percent. I'm not trying to actually. I said that out loud and then thought, wow, that was inappropriate, but I didn't mean it to go that way. But the bottom line is that it is right around there. And I saw you smirk, and I was like, I wasn't. That's not what I meant. But yeah, man, it's things are getting a little worse. I do believe we will. The average rate right now online is showing like 6.5, right? So I do believe that's going to be somewhere around 7.5 before we start looking at a turnaround. I don't think we'll see a huge shoot up in rates. Now, if war breaks out or something, let's have another talk. But until then, I think we're looking good. I think we're looking okay. The question is, how much pain are we going to have to endure next year before things start turning around?
Gotcha. By the way, I was smirking because I was going into the chat AI bot to ask it what the average interest rate was. I was just curious.
Yeah.
And it is telling me that it is unable to browse the internet and search for that information. So there's some constraints on it. That's why I was smirking.
That's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah, but all right, man. Well, let's
Can you
wrap it up.
train it?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. I need to send you the article that I found on, or it was a Twitter, like I send you all the Twitter stuff because that's where I get all my news. I need to send you what I found this morning on that bot and kind of the top ways to use it. But they're like, people are using it to write music. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Kind of bothers me.
Yeah, I mean, think about everything that comes out of whether it's Nashville or pop music. It's all the same shit anyway. That's why I don't listen to it.
I write music.
What's that?
I write music.
Yeah.
I'll send you one of my songs.
You should.
I will.
I've written a couple of songs. I've written a couple of songs myself.
Send me a song.
It's different. It's different than what you've got. But anyway.
I'm sure it's better. Good.
No, not at all. Your skills are a little above mine. But anyway,
that's all right, man. That's all right.
Let's kill it right there. All right, guys. This is what we do on Mondays, and we don't always go down the rabbit hole of artificial intelligence. That was and all of that. But anyway,
Audience, that's your fault for not commenting.
that's right. Nobody commented today. What the heck? We got to laugh. Our buddy Trent had a little laughy face, but other than that, that was it, man. So
Really our
yeah.
fault for not being interesting enough, I think.
Oh,
But
well,
whatever. That's
fair enough.
details.
Yeah.
Details.
Hey, look, if you want to know something, you got to type it into the chat box, and then we'll talk about it. But until then, you know what? We're just going to talk about whatever crosses our ADD minds. But whatever. Cool. Every Monday,
I like that.
5:00. This is what we do: sit around, drink a little bit, talk smart, and solve the world's problems. You know.
Adios.
See you next Monday.